1/2 minus 3/4 times 1/2 plus 2/3. In mathematics, we always have a special order of operations that we must use, and it is represented by what we sometimes just call PEMDAS. Now, it means that we must deal with the parentheses first, then we must deal with exponents, then we will deal with multiplication and division, and finally addition and subtraction. A nice way to remember this is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. So we will follow that, which means that we will have to look for parentheses first, and there aren't any. We would look for exponents next, and there aren't any. So we would look at multiplication and division. We do have multiplication. So we will do this part first. And let me do this over on the right-hand side. I've got 3/4, which needs to be multiplied by 1/2. Remember that when we multiply fractions, we multiply across with the numerators, and we multiply the denominators. So the result of that multiplication is 3/8. Now the problem looks like 1/2 minus 3/8 plus 2/3. We don't have any more multiplication or division, so we will just deal with the adding and subtracting. When we add and subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. So first of all, we will decide on that least common denominator. It looks to me like the smallest number that all of those denominators could go into would be the number 24. So let's work on changing our three fractions to denominators of 24. I will multiply 1/2 by a 12 in the denominator and a 12 in the numerator. I will multiply by 3 on my 3/8 in the denominator, and then of course in the numerator. And on 2/3 I will multiply by 8 in the denominator and 8 in the numerator. So each of our denominators now has a value of 24, which means that we can add them together. I'm going to write one single fraction bar with 24 underneath it. I have 12 times 1, which is 12, minus 3 times 3, which is 9, and 2 times 8, which is 16. Moving left to right, 12 minus 9 gives me a 3, and 3 plus 16 gives me 19. So the result of our problem is 19 over 24. Now we have another problem to do. We've got 1/4 divided by 3/8 plus 3/5 times 7/6. Remembering the order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which stands again for parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction. There are no parentheses and there are no exponents, but there is division and there is multiplication. So we will do this part first. We will also do this. Come over here to the right-hand side to take care of this work that we need to do, and that way we will be able to keep our original problem neat. We want to divide 1/4 by 3/8, which means that I will take 1/4 and multiply it by 8/3, the reciprocal of 3/8. I see that 4 can go into 4 and 4 can go into 8, which leaves me with a value of 2/3. So let me write down the 2/3 and the plus. I also am going to do some scratch work over here for the 3/5, and multiplying that times 7/6, I see that 3 can go into 3 once and into 6 twice, which gives me a result of 7/10 for that multiplication problem. Finally, I have worked my problem down to the point where all I have is two fractions that need to be added together. The smallest number that both 3 and 10 go into is 30. So let's do the work that's necessary to make each of these denominators 30. I will multiply by 10 in the denominator here, and then of course I must multiply by 10 above. I will multiply by 3 in the denominator here, and of course I must also multiply by 3 in the numerator. Both of my fractions now have a denominator of 30, so I will just go ahead and get my 20 plus 21, and the final result is 41 over 30.